Good evening, everybody. This is Scott Golden. I'm joined tonight by Megan Hall. She's my
Hello.
co-host for tonight's show. What's up, Megan?
How are you, Scott?
I'm good. Guys, it's 8:30 Eastern time here in Atlanta, Georgia. Megan's in Boca Raton, Florida tonight. She'll be coming into Atlanta on Friday. We wanted to do something for you guys that we felt like there wasn't enough information being put out there prior to tournaments being played. And especially as the sport develops and gets more involved with money and sponsors and the pro players really training hard and preparing hard for these tournaments, we just felt like, we wanted to bring something the night before, a pre-game or pre-tournament show, if you will. And so Megan and I just got together and we said, hey, you know what? Let's bring this information public the night before, and we'll talk about lots of different topics. We're going to cover a lot of information, guys. We're going to get right into it. This is the 2021 PPA Atlanta, Georgia Open. It's at the Lifetime Fitness and Tennis Center here in Peachtree Corners, Georgia. It's a beautiful facility. If anybody was watching earlier, I did a live walkthrough just for the people that aren't going to be here this weekend. I thought it was important for me to show the venue and just let you guys see how beautiful it really is. Megan, have you been here before to this venue?
Yes, I have. The Atlanta Open last year. It is a gorgeous venue. I love the way the PPA sets it up with the 3 courts as the center court and then all of the other courts surrounding. It's really a beautiful facility.
Absolutely. One of the first things that I want to bring up and the first topic that we're going to discuss is what everybody loves to talk about and everybody loves to find out about, and that's the cash prize money on the PPA Pro Tour that they pay out, okay? So before we get into the specifics of it, Megan, I think it's important for the people watching to understand how PPA structures their payouts, okay? So they have tournaments. I think this year is 14 tournaments or maybe 17 tournaments. I think it's 17. And they have a tier 1, which is the largest, a tier 2, and then a tier 3. And well, actually, the tier 1 is the second largest, but the largest is the championship series at the end, okay? So this particular tournament here in Atlanta, the Atlanta Open, is a tier 1. Okay, so it's a pretty significant tournament. We had, I believe, just over 1,100 players signed up. That's a pretty significant number considering it's over half of what the U.S. Open had.
Over half of what the U.S. Open had? Oh, right. Yes, correct. Yeah, no, this is a huge tournament. And I think that they've combined tournaments from the past, if I'm not mistaken, the Georgia Open and the Atlanta Open, which with Chad Cromwell, Chris Wolf now working with the PPA, planning and hoping to make this the biggest tournament coming out of Atlanta and maybe one of the biggest tournaments in the country.
Yeah, and I spoke with Chad Cromwell a little bit earlier today while I was at the venue and just kind of off camera, just he and I chatting a little bit, and I got a little insight. And, I asked him straight up, point blank, why did you guys decide to go away from your own tournament and combine with the PPA and become one of the PPA tour stops? And for him, it was simple. He said it's a time management thing for him. He has a full-time job still. He didn't have the time needed to continue to invest in this type of magnitude tournament with over 1,000 people signing up and coming in from all over the country. And also, as the sport's growing, it became evident that was harder and harder to get big sponsors to join their tournament. And that's one of the key components to the PPA. They do a phenomenal job of getting big sponsors to support their tour. So it just kind of made sense for Chad Cromwell and Chris Wolf to team up. It also made sense for the PPA because they can combine all those people that Chad and Chris had built up in their tournament and then have instant big numbers for the Atlanta stop.
Yeah, I think personally knowing Chad and Chris, they're just such great guys. And I think that everyone feels that way and you want to support what they do in the sport. They also run 11 South, which is a pickleball clothing brand. So they're just great guys, I think, trying to promote the sport. And I think they wanted to see the biggest, best tournament possible. So they joined with the PPA. But I think the PPA was also smart because, you know what, they're two likable guys that everyone just wants to support. So I think both parties were smart in joining together.
For sure. So let's jump into the nuts and bolts of the prize money. So it's $91,475 allotted to the Atlanta, Georgia Open, which is a pretty significant amount of money. Now, the way it's broken down is of that $91,475, $25,000 of that money goes to signed contracts, player contracts. And for anybody that's been following the sport, the PPA was the first tour to offer player contracts. And all that really means is it ensures that the big names and the top elite athletes of our sport are going to be at the Atlanta Open and all of the PPA tour stops in 2021. So they just ensure that they're going to be there with a little bit of money. It's a win-win for the PPA and the players. The top players like Simone and Ben get a chunk of money to make sure they're there. Even if they have a bad run, right, Megan, they still take home a little bit of guaranteed money. So it's a good thing.
I feel like this issue of paying out contract money is a bit controversial, and we can save that for another live stream. But obviously, it's well known now that the PPA has been doing that to a select few pros that they want to guarantee at their tournaments. Whether it's good or bad, I think is irrelevant. It's just a part of what the PPA does to guarantee that they get the sponsors they need to put on the events that they need to have. So that's really just the bottom line. And yeah, so I think they're probably smart in doing that because, you know, I understand people want to see Ben Johns, people want to see Simone, Lucy, Matt. So and especially at all these big events. So yeah, so the player contracts do take away from some of the prize money, which I think people do have issues with. But ultimately, there's obviously clearly a lot of prize money still in the pot to go around. So
yeah, so let's talk about that. So after you subtract that 25,000 off the 91,000, you're left with 66,475. And the way that breaks down individually is for the tier one payouts, if you're playing men's doubles or mixed doubles or women's doubles pro. So all three of those categories, it's going to pay out like this. It pays out 4 spots. First place gets $7,500 at a tier one tournament, this is the tier one. Second place takes home $3,500. Third place takes home $2,250. And fourth place takes home $750. So again, just so everybody's on the same page, that's men's and women's doubles pro, and then mixed doubles pro, all pays out the same, okay? For the tier one payouts for singles, for men's and women's singles, it breaks down this way. $2,500 for first place, $1,200 for second place, $600 for third place, and $300 for fourth place. So the singles breaks down a little bit less than the doubles does. But if you understand how pickleball works, doubles is the bread and butter of the sport. In tennis, it's the exact opposite. Singles is kind of the showcase, and then doubles kind of take the back seat. So it's pretty interesting in that regard.
It is interesting, and myself playing both singles and doubles often. I love singles. Both require different skill sets, I feel, but you definitely need to be in tip-top shape to play singles. I just don't think the sport is there recognizing that yet. Still in the infancy stage, I think, of the sport. And eventually, I think that people will be more receptive to singles and more interested in singles. But still, doubles being the draw. I think it will always be that way in pickleball. So
yeah, I think so too. And also, I want to make mention, Megan, we have nothing but absolute love and respect for the senior pro divisions. We just don't have enough time tonight to go into all the different divisions. But we do love the senior pros. They're the backbone of this sport, and they really have paved the way. And there's so many amazing, talented senior pros. So we just want to give them a big shout out, but we're not going to get into all their payouts and all that stuff tonight, just simply because it's a time issue more than anything.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to, but yes, I know we have a lot to talk about. So again, another live stream.
Absolutely. All right. So the next thing that we want to talk about is the people that are going to be coming into the venue. I just want to make it clear that you can buy grounds passes each day. Those grounds passes are $10. Okay, Megan, and that will get you access to the grounds and the stadium championship courts. And make sure you order those online because they will sell out, I believe. And you want to make sure that you have access to all that. So those are daily grounds passes. I don't know about parking. I don't think you have to pay for parking. The last time they did this, you did not, but I don't know for sure if you have to pay. Just be prepared to pay if you need to.
I will say that $10 to get as close as you'll get to those 3 center courts is a really good deal. I know at the US Open, they were charging a lot more money to get those primetime seats. And this venue for $10, that's a steal. That's a good deal.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Also, I want to make mention that we're coming off of the US Open, which was just last month at the end of April. And they had the sponsored ball that was the Franklin X40. However, this time at the PPA Atlanta, Georgia Open, the official ball for this tournament will be the Onyx Durafast 40. So I just wanted to be clear about that, so there's no confusion there. And I think one of the other cool things that we're going to see is a beer garden. I don't know if you knew this, Megan, even, but they're going to have a beer garden set up. And I think Michelob Ultra is going to be the beer that they're going to be serving there. I don't know if there'll be other options, but I think that's a cool little feature for the people that are coming in to watch the pro players and the amateurs and stuff like that. So
yeah, you want to have a good time, grab a beer. I don't drink beer, but plenty of people do. It's just a nice little touch. I think we're seeing PPA do lots of little things to kind of enhance the experience when you go to these events. So kudos to them for being creative and creating an atmosphere for people who do want to come and watch the pros and maybe the amateurs as well.
Oh, for sure. People love to support their local people that come and sign up and play in these events, and nothing but love and respect for the amateurs as well. I'm considered kind of in that in between right now. So sometimes I play 5.0, sometimes I play pro, and there's lots of.
Eventually you're a 3.0, sometimes eventually you're a 6.0. I mean, it just depends on the day.
Just depends on the day. That's right. Megan couldn't help herself there. But also I wanted to talk about the next hot topic, which if anybody's followed the Atlanta Open over the last few years, you already know that this is one of the things that they implemented, and they were very adamant about continuing this format. And Megan, I think you know what format I'm talking about. It's pretty exciting. I think the pros have mixed feelings, or did have mixed feelings the first time that this happened, that they implemented this, but they've made a couple of good changes. The first year that they did it, Megan, I just want everybody to understand how this has evolved. The first year, they did best 3 out of 5 for the medal rounds, okay? So the pros went all day long, 2 out of 3 through the rounds, and when they got to the bronze, they played 3 out of 5, and then they turned around and played a gold 3 out of 5, all in the same day. Mm-hmm. So one of the critiques or criticisms after that tournament that first year was, hey, it's just way too much. We're fighting and scratching and clawing through the bracket, all through the hot summer Georgia heat. And then when we get to the bronze and the gold, we're just exhausted. And so it didn't make for great finals because everybody was just, their gas tank was empty. So Chris Wolf and Chad Cromwell listened to that feedback. And when they teamed up with the PPA for this year, they said, hey, let's keep that same format, but let's evolve it. So what they did was they are now doing a best 3 out of 5 series, but only for the gold medal matches. And the great thing is they took it one step further, and now they're taking all those gold medal matches, those championship matches, putting them on Championship Sunday. So they're going to have a night to rest, recover, recuperate, and we're going to see some really good, high-quality pickleball best 3 out of 5. What do you think about that, Megan?
Well, I think a couple of things. I think that they were smart to break it up a little bit because I did hear feedback also that it was too much in one day. I think when we look at some other sports, for example, tennis, it's just an easy comparison. They're playing one match a day. And so when you ask these athletes to start from 8 a.m. to 7 o'clock at night, often it's just a long day. So when you have to play 3 out of 5 in the medal rounds, I just think that it could potentially be dangerous if they're not given a break. I do like the format of making a championship Sunday. I think that sounds fun and exciting. I do like the 3 out of 5 for that championship Sunday. I think that just makes it more exciting, and we'll see who's got good fitness. I think it brings upon other challenges as opposed to playing the 2 out of 3. But I also think that the people who we'll see reoccurring in a lot of the finals on Sunday, possibly Ben John, Simone, Lucy, are going to have to play several of those 3 out of 5 matches. So
that's what I was going to ask you is, do you think that this type of format favors or is a disadvantage for guys like Ben Johns or the ladies like Simone and Lucy and Catherine and Callie who tend to make it deep into these brackets and usually to the gold medal matches? What do you think there?
Well, I think because the way the sport has been set up for so long is that you play all day long anyway. I don't think if they have to play 2 3 out of 5 matches that it's going to be a big deal for them. And in fact, you and I talked about this all the time. It might be a great warm up. You play a few games and then they might be their best in the second game. Often it's nice to have that play many matches in a row to get the warm up. I mean, we'll just have to see how it works, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think anybody who's playing in a final or in 2 finals on Sunday will get tired. I don't believe it.
It is scary, though, to think that Ben Johns could potentially play 5 games in each of the gold medal matches if he makes it to all of those. You have to think worst case scenario, right? I mean, ideally, Ben Johns finishes all the stuff in 3, but let's just say somebody's having a good run and they're feeling good and they take them to 5 games. That could be a big game changer for somebody to potentially upset Ben Johns later in that championship Sunday if he's exhausted. Maybe the other person in the mixed doubles only has played that one mixed doubles and they're fresh, so you never know.
Well, Ben is 22 years old, so I don't think that he's the one who's going to have to worry. I think that no offense, but I think that if we see some of the older guys in the finals, it's going to affect them more. I mean, I think that's just obvious. Jeff Warnick, Matt Wright.
I think Pat Smith just turned 40.
Who?
Pat Smith.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, he doesn't play singles though. So
no, not singles. I'm just talking about on
right, doubles, and this adding singles on top of it another day is a whole nother ball game. But I think that if they do go to 5 games in each match, in each gold medal match, I think that's basically what a full day is for them generally anyway. I mean, how many rounds is it taking them to get to the gold medal match? If it's a round of 32, how many rounds is it? 5 rounds. Maybe they have a bye the first round, so they only play 4. So that's, if they win each game in 2, that's 8 games plus, a gold medal match, a winner's bracket final and a gold medal match. So that's around 10 games anyway, if they win everything in 2. So it should be equivalent to a normal day at the office for those guys.
Yes, and Megan, one other significant thing to remember about this particular tournament is the PPA is trying something new for the first time, and that is that the pro divisions cannot double dip, what we would call double dipping, which means if you lose through the bracket, you do not have the opportunity to come back up and win the gold medal on Championship Sunday. So it's imperative that these players come out ready to go each round, because if they slip up and have a bad game, if Ben Johns and Colin Johns come out a little soft or a little slow in the first or second round and they get upset by a team that's raring to go, they won't have that opportunity to be there on Championship Sunday. So I think there's a couple of reasons for this, and I'm going to get your opinion on it. I think it's talking to Chad Cromwell earlier. It has to do with scheduling and timing of the sport getting on more on TV and being able to kind of predict and schedule times. Because if you are able to come back through the losers bracket, when you finish that winners bracket finals, those players have to wait sometimes 3 to 4 hours before that losers bracket finishes, before you have that last team. So this would ensure that the two undefeated teams can play the gold medal match in a timely fashion. So it does kind of make sense.
When you phrase it like that, I understand. I just think that the sport is what is so great about the sport is that you can come back. Even if you lose, you can come back and fight through the back draw and still win gold. I think pros it puts a little more pressure on everyone, really. But in particular, I think the top teams, because if they have one slip up throughout the day, which sometimes they do, the best they can do is bronze. So I love all the pro players. I love to watch them all, but I also wouldn't mind someone new winning in some of these brackets. So we'll see how it goes. I completely understand about the scheduling. I understand. And if that's what helps promote the sport and get us on TV and make it for the masses, then that's what we have to do.
Yeah. I mean, it does change the ball game a little bit, Megan, because I know Ben Johns and Colin Johns lost at a prior tournament that I was actually doing the commentary for. They lost like in the third round to Zain Navratil and Jeff Warnick on championship court, but they were able to come all the way back and end up winning the gold. So they can't have one of those, down games where they basically come up a little short, or they'll be playing for third place. So it's also worthy to note that the senior pro divisions will still have the ability to come back and double dip in the gold medal match. So it's only the pro divisions that will not have that opportunity. And it has to do with, like I said, TV time and scheduling.
Are they going to be putting senior pros on some of the center courts do you know?
I don't know for sure yet, but I will say that in the past, they have mainly stuck to the pros being on the center stage, but they will work in, if it becomes a fluid thing where they need to stick a game in, they will throw a senior pro match on there. And in the past, they've been good matches. So I would not be opposed to commentating one of those matches. So, we'll see. The scheduling tends to be a little fluid during the day because sometimes matches take a little longer, take a little shorter. So they have to be flexible with that. And sometimes they can squeeze a couple, random matches in there. So we had a question, and this is a pretty good question. It says, do I need a day pass on Saturday if I'm a registered player playing on Sunday? I believe if you are a registered player, you do not need to buy a grounds pass. I believe you get access as long as you have you're registered for the tournament. I read that on the website. So if you're just a viewer, a spectator, you will probably need to buy a $10 grounds pass. And if not, then if you're a player, you should be good. Okay, so that 3 out of 5 was one of the bigger subject matters that we wanted to talk about and discuss because it's pretty rare. I mean, really, this is the only tournament that we've seen that has that. So
it's a big deal.
It's a big deal, and we're going to see how it unfolds. And also, we're playing in Georgia, which typically this time of year in Georgia, it's very hot, it's very humid, and we experience as players some cramping, and some people from out west typically don't do as well on the humidity. However, let's talk about the Georgia weather this weekend, because I wrote down the potential highs and the humidity for the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it's really not that bad, Megan. Now,
Mid-80s.
somebody might say, well, that's pretty hot to me, but relatively speaking, in the past at this tournament, it's been, 100 degrees out there on the court and feels like you're going to, pass out from heat stroke. So where I've got the temperatures, Thursday on singles day is actually the lowest temperature. It's 81 degrees as a high. Okay. On Friday, it goes up to 84 as a high. Saturday is 88. And then on Sunday, Championship Sunday, it's going to be the highest temperatures, which is low 90s for Championship Sunday. So yes, it will be hot, but not to the extent that it has in the past. And the humidity today and tomorrow is only at like 47%. So it's really not going to be that bad.
We'll see.
Yeah, I remember a couple years ago, these players were really struggling in this Florida and Georgia heat. So down here in the South, it's not easy to play these long days and these pickleball tournaments in this heat.
I want to get to the gritty. Who do we think is going to win? And our dark horses. That's what I'm ready.
We're going to get to that. We're definitely going to get to that. One of the things I want to talk about too, one of the things that they really wanted to put emphasis on is the pro players. And so they took the top 25 pros and they gave them a custom locker that they can have access to. It's got their picture on it, a couple like a goodie bag. So I thought that was really neat that they went above and beyond. And if you were watching the walkthrough earlier, Megan, Hannah Johns and another guy were filling those bags for those players. So really neat. I think that's a cool feature that they did this year. And it just shows that they care about the players.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just making those little efforts and changes and little nuances that make it a better experience for everyone.
Definitely. And for anybody that's followed the PPA over the last year, they hired Hannah Johns, which is Ben Johns' sister. And Hannah Johns does a phenomenal job with sideline reporting, with interviews of the pro players before and after the matches. And she is always on point. She does her due diligence and she knows what she's talking about. She's actually been on the broadcast a couple of times doing commentary, and she's very good.
She is very good. She's a great addition. She's professional. She's beautiful. She's sweet. I really like her a lot. And it definitely is a great addition to what they're doing at the PPA.
Absolutely. Also, one little tidbit of information that I got out of Chad Cromwell, which is not official yet, and we will wait to release this information if we get that later, but they are looking at potentially releasing the draws early for the men's and the women's doubles, pro doubles. So if that happens, then I'll notify everybody, but it's not official yet. He was going to be checking on that to see if they can do that. Because if you play tournaments, you know that they release the bracket the night before at midnight. So at 12 o'clock midnight, like the gentlemen and the ladies that are going to be playing singles tomorrow can stay up till midnight and then get their information of who they're going to be playing in the first round at midnight. So what do you think about that? Do you think they should release draws early, or do you think they should just stick with the age-old midnight release?
It's hard. I think it allows them some maneuverability if people are injured and to insert people to get the maximum amount of play, because again, the sport is growing, but at the same time, there's no preparation for the player. And I think it just makes it difficult. And then you know how it is. You're up until 12:01 to check the draws, and you're not, you play at 8 a.m., but you need to get a warm up in at, 7 o'clock. And so it just becomes a late night the night before generally, or unless you're Simone or Lucy or Ben or Colin, you probably just don't worry about it.
Yeah, definitely. And before we get into the favorite part of what we want to talk about, which is our predictions and our dark horse teams, there's a comment from Tracy McKenna that says, what happens when Callie and Catherine get to the finals on Sunday? That is Callie's day of peace.
That's a great question.
It's a great question. And I had this discussion with Callie. If you watched the interview that I recently did with her, you already know her strong stance on Sunday being a day of rest for her and her family. She will, from everything that I've gathered from her, she will not budge on that at all. So she may struggle in the future getting mixed doubles partners for that reason. However,
or women's partners. I mean, who knows?
Or women's partners as well, yeah. But for this tournament, I had this discussion with the PPA. They chose to put the championship matches on Sunday in particular because of the 3 out of 5, giving those players plenty of rest to kind of be recuperated and ready to go. And it just doesn't make sense to change everything around for one player's personal beliefs. And as much as they would love to have Callie be a part of the finals, that's her personal decision not to participate. And there's just nothing that they can do. This is a professional tour, and the show has to go on, you know?
And I think Catherine and Callie have created such a bond, probably on and off the court, that Catherine would understand that Callie has her beliefs. And I don't think it's easy. I don't think it's an easy decision for Callie because she's a competitor. I just think that she has her priorities straight, and we can't do anything but respect that. It's a shame because they're just coming off that US Open win. So I want to see them do well in this tournament, but I mean, we'll get into that in a few minutes.
Definitely. All right. So what we've all been waiting for, it's Scott Golden and Megan Hall's predictions for who's going to win or potentially going to win, or let's just say medal in these pro brackets. So what we did was I had Megan pick her top 4, maybe even a potential 5th on the women's pro doubles and the women's pro singles. So we're going to get her picks there. And then I told her to pick a couple of dark horses. And that term dark horse, Megan, explain for anybody watching that may not know what that means. What is a dark horse in a potential bracket?
To me, a dark horse is an underdog with the ability to win. You know, maybe an up and coming star in the sport that has been working hard, or maybe an up and comer that is just going to blow all of us away. Who knows? But someone putting in the time and the work, and we've seen little pieces here and there, but they just haven't made that full push yet. So I feel like it's an underdog with lots of talent.
Yeah, and if you follow pickleball at all, I mean, pickleball is a game where anyone can get hot. There's momentum swings big time. And at any given time, you can be beat in pickleball and really in general in sports. So you always have your top favorites that you expect to make it to the finals and to medal. But there's always that potential upset and that dark horse that could get hot at the right time and upset some big names. So let's get right into it, Megan. I'm going to throw you up here on the solo. And we're going to let you first talk about women's singles pro bracket that starts tomorrow. Let's just talk about your top 4 that are going to potentially medal, and then a dark horse or 2.
Okay, so first and foremost, I want to say, while looking at the brackets for the women's events, the women's singles and the women's doubles, it's a shame that there's not more women playing in these pro events. I do know that this was an expensive event because it's such a big one, but there's only 10 women signed up in the singles pro, and I'm wishing I was playing too, but yeah, it was a little disappointing to see that there were only 10 players playing. That was a bummer. So anyway, my 4, which aren't going to be a surprise to anyone, are Simone, Irina. So Simone Jardim, Irina Terashenko. I have Callie Smith and Leia Janssen as my top 4. And because there's only 10 in this bracket, I have only one dark horse, and that's Annalie Waters. I think she's so young and she's so talented, and she plays all sorts of other sports. And I don't even know if she plays a lot of singles. And she beat on Catherine at the US Open. And I just think the sky's the limit for her. So I feel like she has potential to do really well in this tournament. She would be my dark horse pick. And I feel like the draw should be intimidated by her, because I don't think she's reached her capabilities yet for a 14-year-old. So what do you think? What do you think about those picks?
Well, I want to give you the opportunity to also disagree or agree with my picks on the men's side. But I agree with all of those picks, except for that. I actually would say that Catherine is going to bounce back after that that poor showing in singles at the U.S. Open. I watched that. I streamed that match, and she just did not look like herself that game when she played against Annalie Waters. I don't know what was going on exactly. I don't know what was in her head at that time. Maybe she was thinking more about women's pro doubles and mixed pro doubles, and she wasn't as focused on singles. I have no idea. But in the past, Catherine has been lights out, unstoppable. I believe it was in Phoenix or Tampa, one of those early PPA runs. She was just destroying people on the court and just dismantling that division. So, she's one of those players that can come out and get beat by somebody like Annalie Waters in two, or she can come out and upset Simone Jardim. So
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I really think that Catherine is one of those that we need to watch out for tomorrow. But yeah, Simone is always a big threat to win the women's pro doubles. Callie Smith is coming on really strong lately. I think she's got a really good chance of going deep into this 10 player pro bracket for the women's.
I think that I definitely think Catherine is feisty and an unbelievable player, singles and doubles. I just think mentally, can she make it all the way through and win the gold? And that's where my question lies with her. It's not of her skill. She's very talented. It's just, can she keep her composure through the entire draw to get to the gold medal match? We'll find out on Thursday when it's singles day. And the women actually play, I believe, they play sometime late morning. I know the men start at 8, but I'm not sure when the women start.
I think it's a little later in the day. The scheduling is a little later for them for sure.
I have to talk about one more person, because Leia Janssen, she made it to the gold at the US Open. She's been making waves. I think she's been working her butt off for singles and for doubles. And she's not quite a dark horse, because she's won quite a few tournaments and doing really well lately. But I think she's someone who's on the prowl and ready to pounce on Arena and Simone the next chance she gets. I know she's hungry for it. So, I wish them all the best of luck. But, I think it's also time for some new blood around these events. So you got to root for the underdog. Nothing against the very talented Arena and Simone, but, let's get some new blood in the house.
Yeah, and I think that's the age-old discussion is, do you root for the steady ones that are always going to be in the finals, or do you want some underdogs to come out and make some noise and back up their bark with some bite? And I personally am on board with that too. I think that Simone Jardim and players like Irina Tereshchenko, they've been around for a while now, and they know how to play this game at a high level, and they're always a threat to win it. But when you get some young, fresh talent in that is hungry and they want it bad enough, and let's be honest, you play singles, and I've played enough singles over the 4.5 years. It comes down to a mental battle in singles with yourself. It's not even against the opponent. A lot of times you have to want to go deep into these singles brackets, because how many times, Megan, do we see pro players bail on the bracket if they lose? They just don't even finish the bracket, right?
Right. I think not only mental, but it's physical in singles too. I mean, if you're going 3 games, it can be physically taxing, which then can be mentally taxing. So it's a combination of both in singles, and more so in singles physically. It just takes that much more, physical exertion to play. So you got to be in tip-top shape. So I want to hear your men's choices.
For singles?
For singles.
Okay, I'm going to get into that, but I wanted to bring up a sensitive subject right before we do that. The men's pro singles division has 44 men signed up to play. The women's has 10. The payouts are equal. Okay, so you've got 44 men, 10 women. The payout is exactly the same. Do you feel that is fair? And I'm asking you from a women's perspective, but it could be flip-flopped. It could be 44 women and 10 men. Would you feel that would be fair as well?
I don't think it's the women's fault that there aren't more women signing up for these tournaments yet. I do think that if you give men more money than the women, that would cause a stir. But it's not like they're taking the proceeds. It's not like they're taking the entry fees from the men and then dispersing the entry fees only from the men. And the same for the women. That's not the way that they're working it. They're getting their money from all of the entry fees. So maybe I would say it wouldn't be fair if it was a tournament and they were just taking the entry fees just in their particular bracket and then splitting it. I don't think that's fair. But I think because the tournament is so large and I think the PPA and the APP, I think their level of tournament is too high to then, mix it up. I think they have to make it the same, or else they're going to run into many other issues. But I think they do. I think it is fair,
Right.
because they're not playing in the individual bracket. They're not just taking the money from the players in the bracket.
Correct. But it's just there's 44 men beating each other up for that same amount of money when you've only got 10 women who are fighting for that same amount of money. It seems like a better deal to be a women's pro singles player in this time. Now, hopefully that will change. Hopefully next year there'll be 50 women competing for that same prize money. Also, you have the same issue in tennis, right? The payouts are the same, but the men play 3 out of 5 in the majors, and the women play 2 out of 3. Which I asked you one time just randomly, what was with that, and I don't know if we ever even came to a conclusion there. But
in tennis, I mean, that's a different story because that's like with scoring. It's not with prize money, but I think the majority of the tournaments, the men are playing 2 out of 3. It's the Grand Slams, the big tournaments, they're playing 3 out of 5.
Right.
So, I mean, could the woman play 3 out of 5 too? Sure.
Absolutely. So Derek Brown said, I mean, how many of those 44 men, are actually pros and have a chance of medaling? Yeah, no, listen, that's true. That's a valid point. Of those 44, there are a ton that we're not going to mention here on the stream tonight of having a chance to medal, but it's still 44 people in that bracket,
Well, sorry, I'm also going to say that you might see more women sign up and probably even more men if you paid out more deep into the brackets, because also when you're playing 2 doubles events, mixed doubles and women's doubles, it can become costly, especially if you're not sponsored, which I don't think a lot of people have their costs covered, their entry fees covered. Some do, some don't. So to play another event, a very taxing event, which is going to cost you more money, and if you're not feeling confident and there's only payouts for the top 4, it's not like enticing for women to play singles. The men, I don't know. They just make it work and make it happen. More of a competitive spirit. I don't know what the answer is.
I just think there's not as many women playing the sport at a pro level right now. It's just that simple. The numbers just aren't there yet.
Yeah, but you look at the mixed draw, and there's how many teams in the mixed? I don't know. There's about 30.
There's 28 mixed pro teams.
Okay, so that's 28 women that could potentially play in singles. And I've heard this from men too, where they don't want to play singles. Singles is too hard, too taxing. So, I don't know where we're just still early and new in the sport. I think if they're able to play doubles, why not play singles?
Yeah, I've always been confused as to why so many play mixed and women's, but don't venture into the singles. But I think that's going to start changing. The average age of pickleball players is starting to come down a little bit. We're starting to see some new, fresh talent. Alex Troing is a young, talented female that's coming on the scene. She obviously could play singles, and as she develops her skill set and gets more experience, I think we'll probably see her start to do that. let's talk about the men's Open Pro singles. You wanted to get my picks. Let me say this. This was extremely hard to make these picks because, first of all, I know a lot of these guys personally. And so when I'm looking at this list of 44, I mean, I can mix and match past Ben Johns, Zain Navratil, and say Tyson Mcguffin. I mean, it's a free-for-all. And I can plug in any number of these players. But I just alluded to 3 of my picks. Obviously, I've got to go with Ben Johns. He is the most dominant player on the face of this earth in pickleball right now. Would never want to bet against Ben Johns at this point. Zain Navratil has been on an absolute tear as of late. He's come on the scene extremely strong. He's getting better and better each tournament. I think he's training harder and harder for his ability to potentially take down Ben Johns. And I think his target goal is not second place. It is to be at the top spot. And I think it's just a matter of time before he does beat Ben in a championship match. It's coming. I don't know when. I can't predict the exact time, but I think he'll eventually get that win. Now, Megan, can he repeat that over and over consistently? Who knows? But typically once you get over that hump and you beat your rival, quote unquote, then it becomes easier. The path to success starts to become a little easier, and you start to see that happen again and again. So I've seen that in other sports as well. So we'll see. Tyson Mcguffin, always a top singles player in the world. He was number 2 for a long time behind Ben, and now Zane's kind of taking him over on that 2 spot. But Tyson can always get hot and make a huge run and potentially take down anybody in this game. So, and my 4th is the Frenchman, also part of Team Model, Jay Duvier. And he is just a fun guy to watch. I always enjoy seeing him play singles. He gives his heart and soul, just like a lot of these guys. And he's going to be out there fighting, scratching, and clawing for that top 3 spot. But I've got him sitting at 4. And then I can't leave out my boy, Frank Anthony Davis. He's one of my favorites to watch. He's scrappy. So I added him as the 5th. And, you know, he's been known to make some runs before, depending on how motivated he is and how well he's playing. So, and then as far as a dark horse, I've got several dark horses, okay? First one that could be a potential dark horse is Ryan Sherry. And he's made some good progress and was doing really well at some of the tournaments late in 2020, coming into 2021. And then he actually got hurt. He hurt his knee, I believe, or his hamstring. So he took some time off, and he's just now coming back. He played last weekend in Cincinnati, and he's here. I saw him today practicing at the venue. So he could be a potential dark horse. You never know. He plays really well on the big stage when there's a lot of people watching and the live streams are going. So we'll see if he's a potential dark horse there. Aj Kohler is another one out of Vegas. Aj Kohler is an unsponsored player. At this point, he plays with the Franklin paddle that Ben Johns plays with. And he is a guy who you need to earmark and remember his name because he's making big waves in the sport. And he could potentially make a big run in the singles, or he could go 2 and out. That's what he and I were laughing about earlier today when I spoke with him. He's the type of guy that can get hot and make a run, or he could be 2 and out and be drinking a beer by lunchtime. So another one is my boy and fellow sponsored Monarch player, Edin Lika. Edin is a 6'5", 240-pound Romanian who played pro tennis at one point in his younger days, in his 20s. He could potentially beat anybody at any given time. However, he traditionally has struggled with endurance and stamina at some of these tournaments. So he plays really well early on in the tournament bracket, and then sometimes he fades. He's not particularly he has not done particularly well at some of the hotter times of the year. For example, the Atlanta Open. And then the last one that I want to mention is Jack Foster. And as I bring Megan back up here, you wanted to touch on Jack Foster and talk about his potential run as a dark horse in the singles bracket. So go ahead and talk about Jack.
Well, you and I both know that Jack has always been a crazy wild guy, playing anywhere from 4-5 to pro. Him making a big splash this past week at the APP Cincinnati tournament, playing against, beating Jay Duvier, playing a game against Zain, being up 14-6 against Zain Navratil. So just to show you what kind of talent this guy has, and he's only 19 years old. So Jack is someone you've got to watch out for. He'll hopefully continue to play these pro events, and he's just touching the surface. I hope that Cincinnati gave him confidence and he could make a huge run in the PPA and really get noticed by a lot of people this tournament.
Yeah, and Jack just made a recent move from Players Pickleball over to New Pipo, which is also just recently signed Frank Anthony Davis as kind of their main guy on the pro scene. But Jack Foster, a potential dark horse in this bracket. Like you said, he was up 14-6 on Zain Navratil last week in Cincinnati, ended up losing 16-14, but not without some controversy. I think a new rivalry may be born there. I really kind of hope that they see each other on the court again. It makes for good pickleball. It makes for good viewing. And I don't think you could ever turn down watching an awesome singles rivalry like Jack Foster and Zain Navratil.
Now, someone that I'm surprised you didn't mention is Decobar.
Decobar is a guy, I think that his heart's not necessarily in singles. He's really a great mixed doubles player and a men's doubles player. I saw him drop out of the U.S. Open in singles. He didn't even finish the bracket. I don't know what was the reasoning behind that. But he did make my top 4 because I don't think his heart's in it. Not to the extent that I think that some of the other guys
well, I wonder if if he has injuries. I mean, I don't know why he dropped out of the US Open singles. I normally he makes good runs in the singles brackets. So
there's many people that we could choose in the singles division. It was a very, very tough decision to pick these, and I could go on, and I'm sure you could as well, picking names. But let's move on to the women's pro doubles bracket, and I want to get your top 4 and then a potential dark horse team or 2. So go ahead, Megan, talk about the women's pro doubles.
Okay. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, only 10 teams. Boo. But really solid teams all the way through. My top 4 are Anna Lee and Lee Waters, Dynamite team, Callie Smith and Catherine, obviously coming off their US Open win. I actually think that if Callie could play on Sunday, they might take it. But obviously we know they won't win gold, but maybe bronze or silver, that they don't have the opportunity to win gold or silver if they get to the gold medal match. But anyway, or actually they could win silver and then default.
Yes, they could take silver on Saturday and then default on Sunday.
Right. So then obviously there's Simone and Lucy, who are just a dynamite, beastly team that every team wants to beat. But obviously they're a well-oiled machine. And then Jessie and Arena, you can never count them out. They're savvy veterans who play really well. Jessie being the steady Eddie of that team, and Arena being more of the aggressor, and she's very good at that in doubles. So those are my top 4. There's some other teams. I know Michelle Esquivel is coming off an injury, playing with Sarah Ansbury. I actually don't see Regina Franco playing in the women's doubles open either, which normally she plays with Sarah Ansbury. But my dark horse, it was a tough one. It was really between Lauren Stratman and Leia Janssen, who are coming off a win in Cincinnati, and they've been doing well and creating momentum for their team. But Vivian David and Corinne Carr, I think, are my dark horse. I think they're super consistent. I think Corinne is super talented. I think Vivian is super talented. I think they're both super upbeat. In fact, I would love to see that matchup, Leia and Lauren versus Vivian and Corinne. But ultimately, I think top 2 teams for me are Lucy and Simone and Annalie and Lee. Those are my 2.
Awesome. So as my dark horse team, I took Leia Janssen and Lauren Stratman. I think they've been working extremely hard off the tournament trail in between the tournaments. They've been focused on eliminating unforced errors, getting on the same page as a team. We're going to see them team up more and more as the months go on and the years go on. So expect them to make big waves and continue to progress through the pro brackets. I also could potentially have taken Vivian David and Corinne Carr as well, but I'm sticking with Leia Janssen and Lauren Stratman for the dark horses in the women's pro.
So super quick, we have Ross Stern, who mentioned that Deckel is not signed up for.
Yeah, that's what I said. He wasn't on my top 4 because his heart's not in singles. And
No. But he said Deckel is not signed up, I'm assuming for the tournament, but I got his name. We went on the website and he's listed for the singles pro division.
Well, yeah, I mean, he may be listed. I don't know what list he's looking at, and we did see him on there, but maybe he's since dropped. I don't know.
Since this afternoon, who knows?
Well, they do send out an email the day before singles because traditionally people drop out of singles and don't notify anyone. So maybe Ross Stern got some inside information that Decobar was not going to be playing singles, which is totally possible. All right, let's move on to the men's pro doubles bracket. I went ahead and took the liberty of picking my top 4 men's doubles teams and then a couple of dark horses. I want to get your opinion and feedback on that as well. Obviously, Ben Johns and Colin Johns are the heavy favorite in the men's pro bracket, so you got to take them. And then Matt Wright and Adam Stone. I feel like Matt Wright is always in the mix, and so he's a guy that I feel like can play with and partner with almost anybody and do well. Adam Stone is coming off some big wins recently, had a good run at the U.S. Open as well. Actually, he made it to the finals with Decobar, so he's just really on a good tear. So those two, that's going to be an interesting matchup to see if they have good chemistry out there. Tyson Mcguffin and Riley Newman, I absolutely love that pair. They're a Selkirk team. The minute that they hooked up on the court and played for the first time, I knew it was going to be dynamite. They've had some good runs at the PPA tournaments and have actually, really done well together as a team. And then the 4th team, you may be a little surprised that I picked them, but Ed and Lika and Andre Descu, they took 3rd at Nationals in 2019. And they're a team that I think, if they're playing well, can beat a lot of teams in this men's pro bracket. There's actually 38 teams in this men's bracket, so it's a pretty good number of teams, just under the 44 for the men's pro singles. So pretty stout numbers for the men's pro divisions. And then as far as a couple dark horses, I've got this one. I'm going to bring Megan back up here, and we'll talk about it. My 2 dark horse teams, the first one is Johnny Pickleball Andrews and Dylan Frazier. And you guys might be thinking I'm crazy, but Dylan Frazier is a stud. That guy is the real deal. He's young. He's very talented. He's kind of a quiet kid. If you followed his career, he's been playing for a long time. And he's teamed up with Johnny Pickleball. And Johnny Pickleball has been doing pretty well in the men's doubles, making some pretty decent runs in the back draw. So you never know. It's a dark horse team that I'm going with. Who knows? They could get hot and really beat some good teams. And the second one, which I love this team right here in this matchup, is Kyle Yates. And this is a mouthful. Shelton Jean Baptiste Webster, the Unicorn. I love that. Kyle Yates and the Unicorn teaming up at the men's pro. Come on, let's go.
I actually like that team too. I really like that team. I glanced at it for the first time. I didn't see they were playing together, but I actually do think that they could do really well together.
Yeah, I think between Shelton's energy and his focus, He's a very driven individual. He's been working hard on his game for a while now. And you've got Kyle, one of the greatest to ever play this game. He's a doubles expertise. The guy is just unflappable, and he's out there in almost all the gold medal matches. For a long time, he was at the top of the sport. He has dipped a little bit in recent months, but trust me, that guy's not going anywhere. He did really well in the U.S. Open recently last month. He just came up a little bit short in a couple of those matches. He's a guy you definitely can never count out.
For me, Kyle is one of the most talented players on the tour. He's so skilled. It's incredible. I think where he needs to get his act together is his mental game, because there's no reason why he shouldn't be making finals of every tournament. So I think if Shelton can keep him calm, cool, and collected, I think they do have a shot.
Yeah, and maybe vice versa. I know Shelton, I've played with him in the past, and he can get a little amped up.
A little fire. He's got a little fire in his belly. That's true.
He definitely has a little fire in his belly. And, another team to kind of keep an eye on is Aj Kohler is teamed up with Rob Cassidy. And just talking about fire and energy, you've got thunder and lightning right there. Obviously, the thunder is Aj Kohler. He's kind of calm, cool, and collected. And then, hey, look, and Michael Forster just mentioned Rob Cassidy and Aj Kohler as a dark horse. You can't count those guys out. Aj Kohler is steady as a rock. He's never too high emotionally or too low emotionally. And then you've got the lightning in Rob Cassidy, the 5'8" Cassidy kid, always brings the energy. The other day, somebody posted a picture of his knees, Megan, and he has scars and scrapes and bruises all over both knees. I mean, he absolutely brings it.
Agreed. I think he's been seeing some success with Rob Nunnery. They've been playing a lot together recently. I think they're a phenomenal team. They're not playing together this tournament, so we'll see how they do with their other partners this tournament. But I have two teams that I want to mention, which someone mentioned in the comments, is Tyler Loon and Spencer Smith, who actually at the World Pickleball Championships played Callan Dawson and DJ Young, and played like lights out that tournament. They played outrageously good. Or when we went out to Phoenix, Tyler and Spencer played incredible that tournament as well, I believe. So they're another team that I think can make big waves in this draw as well. And then did you mention Pat and Jay?
I didn't. I went with my top four. I was hoping you would maybe bring those guys up.
Absolutely.
I didn't want to take all your thunder. I wanted you to have a couple teams.
Oh yeah.
Pick, so.
Not only are they talented and handsome and all of it, but they're just so likable. They're just so nice. You want to root for them. So I feel like I feel Tyler and Spencer, and then Pat and Jay are my dark horse picks.
We can hardly call those teams dark horses, but
I know.
Dark horse, right?
It's true.
I would say we could change that lingo in the men's Open Pro to some of those teams and just say potential upset teams that can make deep runs into the bracket, because you can't even call them dark horses really, because Tyler Loon and Spencer Smith have done really well together. They're both from Utah. They always play really well. Tyler Loon is a lefty and is really tough to play against. He earnies every single time that you give him the ball down the line.
He moves like a gazelle. He gets everything. He's so aggressive, but also has a soft game too. He impresses me a lot. I forgot what I was going to say, but I think we see in some of these teams that play consistently together, that's where you're able to get good results. They're able to practice together. Those guys live in the same area. They're able to play with each other all the time. They've got many matches, many pro tournaments under their belt. And so it provides a level of comfort when you're out there on the court playing for money, playing in these big tournaments. And I think that can make a big difference in some of these draws as well.
Yeah, and I just want to go on record by saying, this is extremely difficult to pick these teams, because I like a lot of these teams to do well, meaning I really could see a lot of teams making deep runs, but you got to pick your top four. And so I did leave Pat and Jay off, but I knew you would pick that up and run with it. And also, somebody just said the pro singles draw has been released, so that's probably why they knew that Decobar wasn't in there, because he ended up dropping, which I totally understand that, because his heart's just not in singles anymore. Adam Stone used to play singles. He doesn't really play anymore. We sometimes see Rob Nunnery occasionally play singles, but he's really more of a doubles guy. There's just several of them that don't play singles anymore.
Well, sometimes I feel like if it's down to money and they only pay out the top four, is it worth playing? I don't know the answer to that. Not only is it worth playing, but you're really using a lot of your energy, which is on Thursday. The singles is on Thursday, and then you still have potentially 2 to 3 more days of play. So, for not really having to work your butt off for almost half the money, or less than half the money, you have to make those decisions. Do I really want to play? Or maybe it's injury. I don't know, but obviously we're seeing the brackets get bigger on the men's side, and it being more competitive with more people getting into the sport.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to look up the bracket right now, but go ahead.
No, that's great. No, we're coming up on the hour and 1 hour and 8 minutes. So we said we were going to try to stick to 60 minutes. We're just over that. So I think we should start wrapping things up. Megan, you can look at that draw later. I need you to focus just for a second here as we wrap this up.
We didn't talk about mixed.
I thought we covered mixed already.
Did we?
Yeah, I think we already covered the mixed.
No, we didn't.
Okay, we did not. I thought we did. Maybe
That's
we did.
The best one.
Okay, so we're going to go over that hour mark. It's fine, though. I've got nothing going on tonight. I'm in Atlanta. So, all right, let's talk about the mixed. I thought we covered the mixed pro. Apparently, we did not. So go ahead and talk about your picks for the mixed pro, and then I'll talk about mine, and we'll discuss it.
Okay. All right. So obviously the most obvious top picks, the 1 and 2, are Matt Wright, Lucy Kovalova, and Ben Johns and Simone Jardim. Obviously, they're in almost every final together. It always seems that Simone and Ben come up on top time and time again. I wonder what goes through Matt and Lucy's mind. I don't know if in the past, Scott, they've beat them. I'm not sure. I haven't been around pickleball for that long, but since I've been around, Simone and Ben have been the reigning mixed doubles team. So obviously those two teams are at the top of my list. My number 3 team is Riley Newman and Catherine Parento. Riley is obviously not playing with Lindsay this tournament, and they're an unbelievable team as well. But I actually like that matchup with Riley and Catherine. I don't know if they get to play often. And like I said before, I think that makes a big difference when playing in these pro events, how often you get to play. But Catherine is a great resetter. Her hands are insane, really insane hands. I think she's a bit more aggressive than Lindsay. So it'll be interesting to see if she'll let Riley do his thing up at the kitchen line. But I really like that team, and I think they'll make it pretty far into the bracket. And then my 4th team, it was hard to pick my 4th because I think there are a lot of good teams in this bracket, but I'm going with Adam Stone and Callie Smith. I think Adam is playing really, really well. I think he did very well in Cincinnati. Callie is coming off big wins lately, and I think they're both 2 very positive people on the court. And they've had a couple of tournaments they've played together and made good runs. I think they played in Tampa together, or a tournament recently. And
the U.S. Open. The U.S. Open.
Do they play in the U.S. Open together?
Yes.
Okay, so they've got some experience together, and obviously just 2 phenomenal players. I mean, goodness gracious. My dark horses are Decobar and Corinne Carr. I just like the balance. I think Corinne, her hands, she just resets everything. She's so consistent. And I know she's been working hard on being a little bit more aggressive as well. And then Decobar, I think, is a fantastic doubles player, especially mixed. He's so big and strong and covers so much court. and able to recover. So I think that's a dark horse team that will make it far into the bracket and do maybe, oh, well, actually they can't come back in the back draw. The best they can do is bronze, but I think they're a team that will medal. And then my other one was Tyler Loon and Leia Janssen. I don't know if they've played together before. I don't remember seeing them.
I feel like they have. I feel like they have been, but maybe not very much.
Yeah, I think they're both unbelievable players, and if they can work it together as a team, I think that they could also do very well in this draw. There's a couple others that you and I talked about, sidebar. I mean, Pat Smith and Lauren, I still am not over their US Open match against the Newmans. It was actually the highlight. I wasn't able to see Callie and Catherine and Simone and Lucy's match, so I don't know, but I saw Lauren and Pat play the Newmans live, and they just had an unbelievable match. So I feel like you can never count Pat and Lauren out. I think they're a solid team. Again, a team that plays together often. But yeah, those are my picks. Who are you looking at?
All right, so I've switched it up just a little. Obviously, Ben Johns and Simone Jargin, Matt Wright and Lucy Kovalova have to be considered at the top two.
Right.
They're just such dominant teams and have been at the top for a long time. We've got to give them that respect. They're the favorites. I did not go with Adam Stone and Callie Smith, and I'll tell you why. Callie Smith is choosing not to play Championship Sunday. So I'm not going to put them in that top four of potential winners for that simple reason. Now, they can get all the way up to the semifinals. They could get silver, but they cannot go on and win that gold medal match. So
we're talking about medal, though. We're talking about teams that will medal.
Yeah, potentially medaling. But I'm going to take her out of that with Adam Stone, and I'm going to plug in Tyson Mcguffin and Anna Leigh Waters. I think that's an interesting team. At the U.S. Open, it was Tyson Mcguffin and Mama Leigh Waters, and then Kyle Yates played with Anna Leigh. And this tournament, they flip-flopped. Now Kyle Yates is playing with Leigh Waters, the mom, and Tyson is taking on his mixed doubles partner, Anna Leigh Waters, for this PPA Atlanta Open. So I'm going to take Tyson Mcguffin and Anna Leigh Waters, and then I love Riley Newman and Catherine Parento to medal. And then my dark horse is Kyle Yates and Leigh Waters. I think they're not even a dark horse team. They're phenomenal, both players in their own right. So I'm going to call them a team that can make a really deep push and run into the bracket if they get hot. And then I like Tyler Loon and Leia Janssen as well. I think that's a team that could really do some damage. Leia's super steady. She's super consistent. And then Tyler Loon is just a threat on the court at any time. His hands are some of the fastest hands. And he's oftentimes referred to as one of the most athletic players in the whole sport.
I absolutely see why. I mean, you and I have played against him, and he is incredible. But I mean, I've seen him when he plays with Spencer. I feel like Spencer really highlights Tyler, and Tyler is just so aggressive putting the ball away, and Spencer sets him up really well. As far as mixed Leia, I think Leia will do the same. I think Leia's always been, I think, focused on singles. I think she's like diversing herself and obviously working on doubles as well, but I think she's becoming more consistent and more confident, and obviously getting some really good players to play with in these brackets. So yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. We're at the 1 hour and 15-minute mark, just a little bit over what we were estimating that we would be, but we covered a lot of good topics, and I think we pretty much ran the gamut of information there. We hope this has been informative. We hope that we made you laugh a little bit, maybe.
Question.
Megan's got a live question here.
Sorry, just before we go, what time can people expect the live streams to start, and where can they find it?
Oh gosh, I was going to cover that even if you didn't ask that question, but
I beat you to it.
I'm a savvy veteran over here. I know the game plan here, but no, that's a good question. That's a great question, actually. I was just about to cover that. So Megan, the the brackets kick off at 8 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning. Singles pro division starts at 8 a.m. For men's. The women's, I think, is slightly after that, maybe 11:30 ish. And so, but the 9 o'clock Eastern is when we're gonna kick off the live streams. Myself, I will be in the booth along with a couple other people. I don't know exactly who it's going to be just yet, but it'll be a good surprise in the morning. So you guys need to tune in and check that out. And we expect them to finish up the live streams probably around 5 or 6 in the afternoon, something like that. So it should be a pretty long day. And where can they find the live streams? For sure, ESPN3 on the Watch app, ESPN Watch app. And then also FTF, I believe, which is for the fans. And then that's on the Roku. I think you can find that on channel, don't quote me, but 338, I believe, on Roku, which is the FTF channel. And then you've got I think they're going to be streaming it as well. I need to double check this, but last time in the past, they've done the PPA Facebook page. Sometimes they do that during the day and then they don't do it in the evenings. But either way, I would recommend doing the ESPN3 app.
Sounds good.
All right. Okay, guys, this is Scott Golden joined by Megan Hall, and we just are wrapping up the 2021 PPA Atlanta, Georgia pre-tournament show. Thanks, guys. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.